Welcome to Vice Casting Couch, Season 1, Episode 14. I am Ryan, and joining me is John and Aaron. Today we're going to be talking about how Amazon lied to Congress, Facebook sues the NSO group, and China, again, attacking the Uyghur population in their country. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, just fantastic.
Better than I deserve.
Oh, no.
He stole that straight from Dave Ramsey. He's going to call it. Pretty sure he's got that trademarked at this point.
I mean, shittier than I deserve.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so I'm going to start with this Facebook NSO fiasco. So I know we've gone over in the past and the NSO group and how they made the Pegasus software, which was used and sold to several countries around the world, and it basically allows governments to hack into WhatsApp, and you basically spy on people and take control of their phone, stuff like that. We've gone over it in a previous episode if you want to see the backstory on that. So Facebook is currently suing NSO, though. I believe they filed a lawsuit last October for how the hacking firm leveraged the vulnerability in WhatsApp to help governments hack users. NSO sells a product, as I said, called Pegasus, which allows operators to remotely infect cell phones and lift data from them. But according to a declaration from the NSO CEO, Shalev Julio, I think that's how you say his name, two Facebook representatives approached NSO back in 2017 and asked to purchase the rights to use certain capabilities of Pegasus in their own apps. And most notably, they wanted to use it. Facebook used to have a free VPN called Onavo. I think that's how you pronounce it. It was Onavo Protect, and this was an app you could install, and it had a VPN capability, but it also just protected your phone from any like suspicious activity and stuff like that. It had access to everything on your phone, like it tracked everything. So they wanted to integrate certain capabilities of Pegasus, obviously, into their free VPN to basically, and this was not released as well. This was unbeknownst to users. This was going to be pushed into the app, and also most users didn't realize that every part of their phone was controlled by this app. So Facebook was basically lifting data themselves and tracking where people were going, what other apps they had on their phone. I mean, it was pretty in depth, and according to I think it was VPNmentor.com, they said that this actually led to Facebook acquiring WhatsApp in the first place because they noticed that so many people were using it. They then approached WhatsApp and eventually bought them out, which is insane. I don't know if is that like insider trading type activity, or
Not necessarily insider trading, but I'm still trying to figure out why people are surprised that Facebook has vulnerabilities. And two, who would use a Facebook VPN? Like, I'm wondering where this customer base comes from.
So apparently there was enough people using it that they were able to analyze that WhatsApp was a good buy to make.
I don't know.
But anyway,
I'm just trying to say, like, it just kind of amazes me that you're going to get a Facebook VPN to use WhatsApp, which at the time was considered to be a secure messaging service.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it over Facebook's. It just blows my mind. Like, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised every day on how people trust certain companies that have over and over failed to meet basic security expectations.
Microsoft, I'm sorry about that.
It's a weird ass sneeze you just had there.
Is it?
So according to the court documentations, it seems that Facebook wasn't interested in like hacking phones. They were interested in like gathering photos or anything on that side. But they were interested in boosting the capabilities that were already in their VPN product. So NSO basically says that's why, or the reason that they didn't sell the software to them is because NSO, I don't know, they have this moral high ground where they only sell to government agencies and police agencies, even though their definition of that is really hazy. But anyway, in a statement, Facebook suggested NSO is misrepresenting these conversations between NSO and Facebook employees. And they said, quote, NSO is trying to distract from the facts Facebook and WhatsApp filed in court over 6 months ago. Their attempt to avoid responsibility includes inaccurate representations about both their spyware and their discussions with people who work for Facebook. Our lawsuit describes how NSO is responsible for attacking over 100 human rights activists and journalists around the world. Again, the NSO CEO has admitted his company can attack devices without a user knowing, and he can see who has been targeted with Pegasus. We look forward to proving our case against NSO in court and seeking accountability for their actions. So basically, Facebook is saying, oh, we're going to sue you for using this software that targets our app, which is unsecure anyways. And then NSO is saying, oh, the only reason they're doing that is because they're butthurt that we didn't sell them a product like years ago. So that's basically what it seems like here. So NSO, again, they maintain that they only sell Pegasus to intelligence and law enforcement agency clients. That's why they didn't sell to Facebook, because they didn't fall into that category. But again, their definition of intelligence and law enforcement agencies is really, really hazy, because they've sold to Saudi Arabia, which has openly murdered outspoken journalists and activists dozens of times in the past. NSO Group they've never fully disclosed their full list of government clients, but research at Citizen Lab, which tracks the use of spyware, has claimed that current and former clients include Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kazakhstan, Morocco, Mexico, the United Arab Emirates, and was used to target Pakistani intelligence officials, Indian journalists, and exiled Rwanda political activists, and dozens of other groups of people who obviously these governments are tyrannical or dictatorships. But NSO's like, oh, they're a government, so we can sell to them.
See, now, this brings up a larger point, that I think governments are used to operating on... They have their borders, you know what I'm saying? So, like, America's far away from, Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or Iran or whatever, you know what I'm saying? We're far away geographically, but the internet spans the world.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit in Iran and touch someone in the U.S. It makes no sense that we would allow a company... It's a U.S. company, right? I assume? I haven't...
I don't believe so, no.
Isn't it an Israeli
Yeah, I believe it's
company?
an Israeli company.
Even better, why has Israel let them sell this crap to their enemies? Like, that makes no sense.
This is also true.
Like, I mean, if I was the government, it's kind of like our defense contractors in the U.S. I'd be like, you're not allowed to sell this until I tell you you're allowed to. You understand?
Yes, yeah,
like,
exactly.
Come on now. What are we doing?
Like, it's just nonsensical. But yeah, it is an Israeli technology firm, which again, that just adds a whole nother layer of why. Like, why is this group allowed by the Israeli government to sell to people who want to destroy their country? I don't understand.
Like Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
This adds more to the idea that Facebook. I think between my article that I'm going to read later about Amazon and about your article about Facebook, like, it's just they have too much data. Like, all of this is leading to them being able to gather immense amounts of data on people and sellers and otherwise. It's just, we got to find a solution to this. I don't have one on the air today, but I think we got to start thinking of a regulatory framework for these companies. That way they don't have that power.
No, I definitely agree. Like, there's just way too much data that flows through these companies, and it's just, I mean, eventually someone's going to just start siphoning or using it in the incorrect way, like we've seen here. So it's like, again, I don't have a solution either, at least not one that is like viable. But yeah, these companies are just kind of doing whatever they want to without any repercussions.
I think we got to be careful, because there's already the government push to get rid of end-to-end encryption. I mean, sooner or later it's going to become a hot topic.
Yeah.
To break it somehow. I don't think a lot of people understand how breaking that would work, but definitely going to be a hot topic in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it hilarious that NSO Group, like, on their website, they consistently talk about how they're fighting terrorism and There's a quote from their website. It says, "Terrorists, drug traffickers, pedophiles, and other criminals have access to advanced technology and are harder to monitor, track, and capture than ever before. The world's most dangerous offenders communicate using technology designed to shield their communications, while government intelligence and law enforcement agencies struggle to collect evidence and intelligence on their activities." If they actually wanted to help with that, they probably shouldn't sell to governments that do the exact opposite or are in this category of of groups that they're saying they target. But that's none of my business.
I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think anyone should sell anything like this at all.
I mean, yeah, no.
I think it's fairly good that people, the being able to hide yourself on the internet only helps public privacy, and I think it helps individual people keep their privacy in their own control.
No,
I don't think you should
agree.
have a government that is just Big Brother that's like, oh, we capture absolutely everything.
Yeah, no. I mean, if a government wants to look into developing something like this, I don't necessarily have an issue with it. But for a company to develop this and then just sell it to basically the highest bidder, as long as it falls into their facade of a category, that seems a little much. That seems extremely dangerous. I mean, you're basically a gun runner at that point.
I'm gonna start a private investigation company, and then I'm gonna apply to get this software as well. How much you think it's cost? Like $8 million or something like
probably
that?
A few million. Yeah, I would assume.
Don't worry, me and John will pay it. We'll bring gold bars to the border.
Oh yeah.
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 Don't worry, we've been money laundering some Bitcoin,
Just claim to be a actual government, and they'll sell to you because they seem to sell to everyone else. So.
Yeah, we're from Sealand.
Yeah, exactly. Population 3.
I have a good one that goes right along with this. The article about Amazon. So apparently Amazon went before Congress and said, "Hey guys, we do not." So as we all know, just to catch people on how Amazon works, a lot of the stuff that you buy on Amazon is not actually made and sold by Amazon.
Yeah.
A lot of it is sold by third-party merchants who, find a way to source the materials, build it, and then sell it. And then Amazon sometimes fulfills it, or maybe even the shipper or the seller themselves fulfills the order. The interesting thing about this is Amazon went before Congress and said, "Hey guys, we do not use our seller data to compete with our sellers." It turns out they lied. That is not the case. Reading an Ars Technica post, because I was listening to one of the Amazon employees testify before Congress not too long ago, and apparently Amazon is using their merchant data, because obviously all the transactions take place through Amazon, so they know the order volume and all that. They're using that data to determine what Amazon should start selling on their own platform to snuff out those other third-party merchants.
That's shady.
That's shady, but then again, like, Amazon has become such a large retailer.
Yeah.
Imagine if you have a new product. Let's say you made a new phone case, and you're like, "This is the coolest phone case around," and Amazon is like, there's nothing stopping them from going and creating a very similar phone case and selling it, undercutting you on price and running you out of business.
Do you think this is why they made their Amazon Basic lineup? Like, because I've noticed batteries, HDMI cables, shredders, like, there's all kinds of Amazon Basic stuff now. Okay.
That's exactly the product line that they would typically be selling on. They have like what is it? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Amazon Pantry and Amazon Household and
there's even a supplement line, I think.
Like,
they have a bunch of stuff
for like vitamins and whatnot.
Yeah, they have a ton of products.
My thing is they're getting caught now for, okay, you are using data to determine what is best to sell. In Amazon's defense, they're saying the company policy prevents them from doing that. There should be more than a company policy. If you're going to be a marketplace, you are just the marketplace. Like, what if eBay started coming out with eBay Essentials and then started selling their crap? Like, we would be like, that's not the point of the platform.
I mean,
whereas,
to be honest, like, doesn't Walmart do the same thing? Because Walmart has their off brands that they sell right beside their other products.
I would say Walmart is not the sole e-commerce giant, though. You can go down the street to a Target or the Kroger or another store. You don't necessarily need, to go to a Walmart. And I would say that Amazon having the market share that they do in the e-commerce space, is unacceptable for them to be able to use that data to then run their competitor out of business.
I'm surprised there hasn't been any antitrust like litigation against Amazon. You know, they're so massive, and like you said, they're the only e-commerce player in the game.
Yeah, true. Starting a monopoly.
I think there are a lot of you know, in the article it does talk about it has a contentious relationship with its third-party vendors, and apparently there are several regulatory probes in the United States, the EU, and in the African bloc about Amazon using not only third-party information but about antitrust itself. Because at the point where you're competing with someone like Amazon, they'll just run you out. I mean, Amazon's whole tactic is to run companies out of business and take over their market share.
They've shown it before. There was some diapers company where you could buy diapers online, and Amazon's like, "Hey, we'll buy you," and they're like, "No." So then Amazon massively discounted all the diapers being sold on their website and just made the other company go out of business. Like,
goodness gracious.
I think this leads to a larger question of when you're a company like Amazon and you have the data, you know what is popular and what is not. You can easily make billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Is it right for the company to be able to, you know, capitalism? Is it right for the company to be able to take over, or is it right to protect the many? You know, having multiple companies that do the same thing.
I think there's a balance that has to be struck. I mean, if you're going full capitalist and you're like, well, the market will figure itself out, then you get companies like Amazon that they hit a lucky strike and they get so big that basically no one can compete with them. I mean, what retail company on the planet could compete with Amazon or buy them out or anything like that? You can't. And when it comes to that point where they are basically the top dog and no one can beat them, I think there needs to be at least some regulations or something like that done so that other companies can survive. Because otherwise, you'll just have a monopoly, and that's not good.
You know,
that's how you get Comcast.
I would even say I think that Amazon is ripe for the breakup. The reason I say that, think about it. Amazon, the e-commerce platform, is separate from AWS. AWS is separate from all the rest of their businesses. I mean, you could break up Amazon into several companies very easily. They've actually made it super simple. Mm-hmm. It's really easy. You just say, hey, AWS is now separate from this. This is separate from this. This is separate from this. We've done it before. I think that if Amazon keeps going, that's what they're looking at.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, correct? When there's a antitrust or something like that, you break them up into separate companies, right?
If we would have to argue that there's a monopoly in Amazon, which...
Well, okay. I mean, it's kind of, as far as I can see, it's kind of obvious that they do have some sort of monopoly on e-commerce.
Correct me if I'm wrong. John, what did AT&T, what were they originally? What company?
They might have been, I forget the exact name of it, but they've always kind of been the same thing, like phones.
I know whatever company AT&T used to be, it was broken up. It was, you know...
Well, there's like Bell. I think it was Bell, so there's like Bell South, Bell, bunch of other Bells.
Okay.
Bunch of bells.
I know Bell South for sure. I don't want to say Bell East and sound like an idiot if I'm wrong, you know. Like.
Well, so either way, I think our listeners know. So anyways, there was this large company, but they had a complete monopoly on that one sector. Amazon is in a bunch of different markets. Yeah. So it's hard to pin them down to one. I would say if we couldn't even say e-commerce really, because there are other e-commerce platforms, but they don't do the same thing Amazon does. Mm-hmm. I would also say there's other people in the cloud space as well, like Azure and Google Cloud and
even Oracle. IBM to an extent.
Oh God, here we go.
I'm just saying.
Dude, IBM. Never mind. It's not our time to trash IBM.
But to what Fletcher is saying is, normally monopolies are horizontal or they're vertical. So they either take out all the companies competing with them, or they vertically go up. They own the whole supply chain, from like a steel mine to the refinery, all that stuff. Amazon's like this weird like octopus, like it just has its leg in everything, and it doesn't meet our standard definition of a monopoly. And like Fletcher was saying, there are other e-commerce sites out there. Like back in the day, Microsoft was being accused of being a monopoly, and they actually gave money to Apple to be like, no, there's Apple over there. They make computers, and operating systems, and even though they're like 10% of the market, they still were able to justify like, hey, there is competitors, you know. So it's really hard to see it get break up.
On a lighter note, have y'all seen? I posted the other day. If anybody looks at memes, have y'all seen the meme? You know, of like Samsung at the top and Apple at the bottom spraying champagne on themselves. Like, it's like Apple's at the very, very bottom. Like, yeah, we're the best. It just made me think of that, and I just cracked up. Like, here you go, Apple. Here's some money just to stay alive.
Well, it did. I'm gonna look it up. Back in the '90s when Apple was shit, like
yeah.
I think it's still shit. Just expensive shit now.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Which perfectly segues into John's article.
Oh yeah, we're gonna learn about Uyghers today.
Oh,
all right,
no.
kids, learn how to spell Uyghur. Uyghu. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, so we talked about Uyghurs on the podcast before, and you know, basically they've been persecuted by China. They've been thrown in these like concentration like camps, and this is just kind of a follow up and an update on this story that I previously talked about. So there's a Chinese hacking group that's been found leveraging a new exploit chain in iOS devices to install spyware implants that targeting the Uyghur Muslim minority in China. So these findings were published by a digital forensic firm, Velocity. I think I'm saying that right. And they reveal an exploit is called Insomnia, which works against iOS versions 12.3, 12.3.1, and 12.3.2. And these exploits use a flaw in the iOS like WebKit. It has since been patched by Apple in iOS 12.4 back in July. So Velocity said these attacks have been carried out by a state-sponsored hacking group called Evil Eye. This is the same threat actor that's been behind the other attacks against the Uyghurs that we talked about before and have been disclosed by Google's Project Zero team. And so China has long been known to persecute these Uyghurs, claiming that they're these extremists, separatists, terrorists, and they're in this region of China called Xinjiang, I think. I'm not a Chinese expert, but
close enough.
Yeah. So, and these Uyghurs, like I said before, they've been thrown into concentration camps and they've been subject to persecution, and they've been using these like facial recognition. China's been known for to like find them and just they call them re-education camps.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think China would like that word being used with there.
No, yeah. So they actually have pictures of it. There's these re-education camps. They're supposed to teach them how like China's great and all this stuff. You know,
they're concentration camps.
So this malware campaign previously exploited as many as 14 vulnerabilities spanning from iOS 10 all the way to iOS 12 over a period of 2 years via a small collection of these malicious websites that they use as watering holes to hack into these iOS devices. In this report, the company said that in the aftermath of last year's expose, the Evil Eye actor removed malicious code from the compromised websites and took it down its command and control server infrastructure until it began observing new activity across multiple previously compromised Uyghur websites starting in January 2020. It's worth pointing out that the open source web browser engine WebKit, which is the basis of Safari and all the other third-party web browsers on iOS, like Google Chrome and Firefox, the reason they're based off of this is because Apple's App Store review guidelines restricts these web browsers to be WebKit based. So I'm not entirely sure why they do that, but it's interesting.
I don't know either.
Apple locking down code to very specific pieces. I am enthralled and angry you would even say such a thing. Apple has never been known for that.
Oh my goodness.
It's interesting now, but the spyware that it's been an updated version of the one we talked before that's been disclosed by the Google's Project Zero security group, and it supports HTTPS communications and is able to transmit information about all the apps that are installed on the device, as well as exfiltrate some data from secure email and messaging apps like Proton Mail and Signal. Proton Mail actually came out and they were saying that this is not due to like a flaw in Proton Mail. It's if a user saved a file to the device, and then the spyware has access to it. Because other than that, everything's opened in memory, and once you get out of that email, it's gone. So I just wanted to clear that up before people started freaking out, you know. But other than that, like it doesn't seem like anything new from China. Like they're just focusing on these Uyghur minorities. And the interesting thing about this malware is not persistent. So if you do reboot the device, it goes away. So
okay, but that's good to know.
So reboot your devices every once in a while.
Yeah,
I mean it stopped at 12.4, right?
Yeah, so that was patched in July 2019.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to know that this stuff is coming out and they're still focusing on the same group over and over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I've heard, they're kind of widening their scope as well for who they're persecuting. I mean, they just kicked all the reporters out of China because they were reporting on stuff like this. Because first China was like, oh no, we're just we're gathering them up for the good of them and we're helping them and stuff like that. And then the reporters actually went in. They're like, no, these are basically concentration camps. You're sterilizing people. Like people are dying. And they're like, oh no, like no, re-education camps, re-education. And I mean, with this whole the freaking pandemic and virus and all that stuff, they're not reporting deaths anymore. And it's just. It's getting super crazy over there. I don't know how this is going to affect the freaking tech industry if China starts severing ties with other countries and closing down. Because they've started closing their borders and flights in and out and stuff like that. So it's kind of insane.
It's very interesting how China mainly supports its Han majority, but all these other, because most of the Chinese population that are like the native Han Chinese are all on the east. But once you get more closer to like Tibet and Mongolia, they're more like they're more different
ethnic groups.
Yeah, ethnic groups, and they don't like it. They try to crack down on them and change their culture and get rid of these ideas. Like they absolutely hate these different religious ideologies that are in China, and they're trying to like stomp all of it out.
They were throwing, according to I think it was the New York Times reporter that just got kicked out of China. He was saying that they were repossessing houses owned by Africans who had come there, and they were just repossessing their houses, kicking them out on the street. Like, bro, like
wasn't there something crazy that Africans were carrying the coronavirus that China was trying to spew?
Yes. So this is from, I believe, the New York Times. They put out a podcast that I was listening to and a couple articles, and it was by these reporters who were being kicked out, and a bunch of them migrated to Japan just before the borders got closed in China. But yeah, apparently the Chinese government was saying that the virus did not start in China, and it was either brought over, at first they were saying it was the U.S. Army that brought it during the war games, and that they really released it intentionally or what have you. And then the Chinese government was like, no, it's all the foreigners in our country. They're the dirty foreigners that are bringing in the virus. So yeah, the African population in China got hit super hard because I mean obviously they're extremely different, and yeah they got kicked out of their homes. They're becoming homeless. They can't leave the country because everything got shut down. So yeah, they're just getting persecuted left and right. Them and basically any other foreigner, but they were hit super hard. Them and the like you said, the more Mongolian or Turkish population in China. Yeah, it's insane.
I will also say that this article, just brings up the relevance again of these state-sponsored groups. Like, China's state-sponsored hacking groups have been known to hack into multiple things. North Korea's hacking groups are actually quite good, believe it or not. And they've hacked into they've stole like I think hundreds of millions of dollars from central banks. And I don't know, it just shows that cyber warfare is really the next domain for all this stuff going down.
Well, we'll see what happens to them if Kim Jong-un is actually deceased. Is it Conspiracy Theory Mondays?
Where you ever watch that show Beyond Belief back in the day?
I don't think so.
Wait, is that the one with Jonathan Frakes?
Yep. And he'd be talking about all these ghosts and everything, and he'd be like,
"Oh my goodness,
what do you think?"
Oh yeah, dude, I've watched it. He would ask these dumb questions like, "Is it real? I don't know." Like, why did you ask that?
I can't do the voice, but that shit just has me cracking up, and it makes you wonder sometimes. They be talking about all these haunted stuff, and you're like, the Waluigi boards over there.
Oh my word. Alright, so that's all the articles that we have for today. Do you guys have anything else?
Nah, man.
That's all.
Okay.
I got shit.
Alright. Well, we'll see y'all later. Bye.